Well, welcome everybody. We've got a long agenda tonight. We have a guest that's going to speak to us. So let's get started. We'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with a prayer and then the Pledge of Allegiance to our country. Let's bow our heads. Dear Lord, we thank you for this wonderful day and for the freedoms we enjoy in our great nation. We pray for the men and women in uniform, both past and present, who have provided us these freedoms. We pray for the guidance during tonight's council meeting. Help us all to use good judgment when making decisions for the community we serve. We pray for the sick and the injured, that they may be healed and comforted. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Let's say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Going on with roll call, please.
Hart.
Present.
Jones.
Here.
Beverly.
Yes.
Clark.
Here.
McCrasky.
Here.
And Mark Taber's absent.
Yes. Approval of the August 17th council minutes. If everyone has reviewed those, we will entertain a motion. If you have any questions or revisions, please speak now.
I move to approve the minutes as written.
Ron Jones makes a motion to approve the minutes as written. Second, please.
Second.
Mike Barr seconds. Roll call, please.
McCrasky.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Beverly.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Okay, minutes are approved. Approval of the bills. Take some time, if you haven't, to look over those. They're quite lengthy. Ron Beverly has the floor on questions for the bills, Kent.
Sewer waste hauling, is that for like 2-3 months? Is that what?
Oh, the Republic?
What it would figure out is what they normally charge us.
No, I think that was for like 4 dumpsters.
So if they,
The real, I'm sorry. Yeah, Republic Services. Yeah, that was for like 4 dumpster loads.
okay, because I know it's a lot higher than normal. Fire, it says replace lights on building. Why are we replacing lights on the new $1 million building?
We had a transformer run out on the back, and we just switched, we've been having trouble going out with these lights, so I replaced them with LED lighting,
See?
save on power.
Okay, back to you, Kent. Sewer, Stoops Freightliner, rims on the garbage truck. What do you need rims for?
Oh, the rim for a spare tire.
Oh, for a spare tire, got it. And underground utility, sewer flow monitoring. How much longer is this gonna go on? In paying these bills today, if we approve them, we're already approving $28,903 to EMHT for engineering and hydrology study. I can't, for the life of me, figure out why we still need this $500 every month. It just really bugs me.
That still goes back to till we start doing projects and show what we eliminate. Meters are still in place.
You're saying the EPA wants that, but we can't
Yeah.
stop it and then restart it, is that right? Because you got 4 meters.
Yeah, they have some of that expense.
You may want to check with your new EPA rep on that, because that was something that Dana had wanted. Unless it's in the long-term control plan, you might be able to go ahead and remove those for the time being, and then reinstall them after you've done some work.
Just because, as far as I know, we're still not EPA approved, correct?
Correct.
I haven't seen anything.
Okay, so God only knows how much longer, how many more years this can go on. And if we're that flush with $500 a month, send it down to my house. And that is all I have. And I thank you very much for your input on that.
Anyone else have any, do want to speak to these bills? Any questions? Thank you.
Running to my questions.
I move we approve the bills.
Okay, Ron Beverly makes a motion to approve the bills.
Second.
Mick McCrasky seconds. Roll call, please.
Clark.
Abstain.
Beverly?
Yes.
McCrasky?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried to approve the bills. Going on to committee reports, we have several. We'll do a little bit here as we go. Do you have a sidewalk, Ron? Sidewalk?
No, nothing.
Okay. Cemetery Board's financial report is in your packet. If anyone has any questions of that, Mike is Ron Jones is the representative to the cemetery.
I am.
Bruce is, okay. I get it right.
That's okay.
You can switch that stuff around.
Bruce is also sidewalk. Do you have anything?
No, we're good with that.
Okay.
Gotcha. Sorry about that, Bruce.
No, that's
I think I even put you there. We'll save Mike Barth, this committee report for last, and it involves Adam, and he's going to speak to us later. Nick McCrasky wants to speak a little bit on personnel.
Yeah, the Personnel Committee met on August 24th. At that meeting were Bruce and I, Chief Ballinger was there, Ron Beverly was there as an audience member, and the mayor was there temporarily at the very end of our meeting. There are a number of things that we covered in that meeting. First of all, we did officially approve the changes we'd like to see to the personnel manual, and I do have a list of those for you, Troy. Okay. And I think I touched on these last time around. Those changes we're recommending would be, in terms of performance evaluations, we'd like to have the department head do those rather than the immediate supervisors. In terms of the hiring process, we would like to have background checks done on adults only. In terms of carrying over vacation time from previous employment, we would like to have that struck from our manual. We do not want that to occur. And the last thing that we approved as a group was the benefits that somebody receives from working with the village. When that employment is ended, those benefits end immediately. The language was a little funny on that, so we wanted to kind of clean that up. We also discussed the police department and there were two finance committee. We
Can
also,
I interrupt for just a second, please? Do we need to vote on what you just changed?
well, with the committee's,
back,
the committee's recommending those changes.
Well, I thought that's when we voted. Okay,
We'll go back to him and then come back for a vote.
okay, just making sure.
We also discussed at length the police department numbers with Chief Ballinger, and what we would like to do is get our numbers back up to what it always has been, which means 8 full-time officers. And if I understand Chief Ballinger correctly, what that means is that we will hire a second one currently. Right now, we're in the process of hiring one. I know there's been a bunch of applications. And we would like to get our numbers back up to where it once was, or what we felt was safe for the village. We also are recommending that the village hire a person to monitor downtown parking issues. If we're going to keep all of the rules and regulations that we have for downtown parking, it's a moot point if we don't monitor it some way, somehow. So at this point, we believe the best way to monitor that, since people are not checking themselves, we need to hire somebody to do that checking for us. So the committee recommends we hire yet another police officer and somebody to monitor the parking.
Is that I know there used to be quote meter person or whatever, is that a position that's already like created, or we're gonna have to create it?
That leads me to the next
Okay.
point. We would also, as a police, or as the personnel committee, we'd also like to see the police and fire committee meet to look at the current budget issues with those recommendations and to deal with the parking meter position, pay scale, job description, those kind of things. As a personnel committee, we're saying we believe it's needed, but we believe it should be the police and fire to tweak it to the point where it should work. And lastly, we would like to see the village administrator act as the department head of the village offices in this building at the departure of Diane Collins. from our employment.
Do I get a vote?
It's a recommendation.
Okay.
So, the way it stands right now, it appears as though Diane's a department head, and it appears as though whoever takes her place would be the department head on day one. And I'm not sure how that's gonna work. Right?
We discussed that at length, yes.
So we felt that the best way to address it would be to let you take care of it.
Might need further discussion.
I recommend that, police and fire look at that, and since Mark is not here, I'll let Ron Jones get that taken care of and set up a meeting and discuss your recommendations when it comes to police and fire and some of these changes. And then I think between both committees and the solicitor and the administrator, we can arrive at a solution. Fair?
Excuse me, that's just what the committee's bringing to full council.
There we go. Is that all you want?
Yes, that's everything that I've got.
Before we speak, or let's have the floor here, there are park meeting minutes in your packet, and if you want to speak to that prior to talking about the water, introducing Adam,
Sure.
you can speak about the park, and I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Okay, thank you. And I don't know if, I don't know the park people are here tonight?
No.
They are not here. We met August 19th. There is a new park entrance sign. I know that committee is very tight, and they do a good job with the park, different projects and things going on down there. I think the park looks nice. I know we've addressed the road issue. Ron's been kind of down there looking at some things, and I told them to, it's in bad shape. We talked about seeing if we could get it taken care of a little bit prior to this season. I don't think a road can get put in right now, but maybe look at that for next year in their budget.
I talked to Mark Savage a couple of weeks ago. He had an idea, but he was gonna try to squeeze it in. There's only 4 football games left.
Yeah.
To me, it ain't a big deal, personally.
So we discussed that, and like I said, the new park sign is up, I believe, on the Arthur side entrance. And actually, we had to reprint the sign. The second one was given to us free. So they're thinking about putting the other sign. It's not that bad, a little bit of registration issues. And since they give it to us for free, they thought about maybe putting it on the back entrance towards Spencerville. So they have 2 new park signs. So, yep, that's pretty cool. That's about all. Anybody had questions about the other park issues?
What trees they want taken down? There again, I don't know.
That's a lot. I think it's the ones that are dying down there. They got some pines that are dying, and they're just starting to disease. And I think that's the ones they were talking about. They're just getting really bad shape, and instead of leaving them there just bare, to have somebody come in and take them down completely. Maybe replanting possibly down the road. I know there's some pines in the area that are dying. Going on to my other meetings, I attended the Upper Maumee Valley Watershed meeting. That was on Thursday at the hospital. There's different agencies, Bowling Green, engineers were there, had a big study, PowerPoint presentation telling about the Lake Erie issue. And again, it's an issue they're dealing with every day with the algae blooms in Lake Erie. So we are in the Upper Maumee Basin. So they have many different groups looking at how they can help with the drainage, creeks and everything filtering into the Maumee, which again flows into the Erie, Lake Erie, and how they can address and clean up that water, the waterways. So they had a great meeting, lasted about 2.5 hours. And during that meeting, I got to meet a couple people, and they introduced me to the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative grants. University of Toledo's working on it. Well, it's led me into talking to Roberta from RCAP, and then Adam on maybe some of the projects we have coming up in our area that we can maybe apply for some of the grants. And the gentleman, Chris Barneswell, was here earlier and got some information for Roberta, so if we want to apply directly for some of those grants with our CSO issues, flood reduction, that kind of thing, that directly tie into the Gordon Creek, which again flows into the Maumee, into the Lake Erie. we might be able to apply for some of those grants, but Roberta's going to take a look into that. Which then Roberta came tonight along with Adam. Roberta, we were doing some cost studies, rate analysis that Roberta's been working on for several months, probably longer than that. But we're looking at ways to fund these projects that we have coming up without having a big impact on the city and income and everything. So in doing so, we kind of recommended keeping the sewer rates where they're at. Kind of taking a look at what kind of grants we can get for the next couple of years, loans and different things for the different projects. But we're also looking at the water side. That's all for the sewer side because it's the CSOs and the flooding and the separation. I know water hasn't been addressed in a while with the water rates. We are currently not charging for the first 1,000 gallons of water that everybody uses. We had talked about charging for that would generate a little bit more revenue for the water side of the system. It'd be $3.12 more a month. That's what our base is, usage per 1,000 gallons. So it would generate around $50,000 more per year for the water, and then that would go towards, of course, any type of water projects that Kent has. And he's been doing some new water lines in certain areas in town. The water revenue kind of fluctuates a little bit with expenses and revenue. So committee had discussed about not going ahead and charging for that first $3.12 for the first 1,000 gallons of water. And the council thinks about that. And then, I don't know if Roberta wanted to add anything. Did I miss anything, Roberta, from our meeting?
No, just, for a little bit of clarification, the last 2 years and the budget projection for this year, you're running a deficit in your water fund. By charging for that first 1,000 gallons, you would technically still have a little bit of a deficit based on the budget numbers, but in our discussions with Kent and Diane, I felt like that would probably be enough, and I think the committee felt like we'll just go that route, because I gave them a couple of options for changing your value charges or changing your base rate. We talked about inflationary increases and a couple of other things, but I think everybody just kind of wanted to wait out the year and see how the water fund did for 2016. Because there's no, big urgency to do something about the fund at this point. And then the issue with the sewer, we looked at a couple of different scenarios on the rates for the sewer. And my recommendation was to keep the rates the same, because based on the projects that you currently have planned for the next 20 years as part of your long-term control plan, when I put together the budgeting for that, for the EPA, I did not change your revenues at all. So theoretically, if, all the projects go as planned, by the time the projects are done, there really won't be a substantial change in your sewer rates. What you're charging now should support those projects and support the long-term, sustainability of the sewer fund. So that's why I felt like, maybe we should just kind of let it ride out through this first phase of projects, see how it goes, and then, we can sit down and talk about it again in next year or the following year.
And I want to thank Roberta. She's been working on this numerous times that we've asked her to do, come up and give us different scenarios, different rate studies. Yeah. So
And we all thank
she
you.
has been gracious here to the village and all her time and effort. So thank you, Roberta.
I mean, I would love to come here and say, yeah, we can cut your sewer rates, but, my fear is that you're gonna cut your rates, and then in a couple of years, you're gonna have to increase them again, and that just creates a lot of confusion
Right.
and anxiety for people, so.
We can say the same, that sure beats a raise.
That's right. And Roberta helps out with the grant writing and applications and everything for the loans and everything, so
Still looking for money.
appreciate it. Now, also, I talked a couple times, we wanted Adam Vorse to come up here tonight, and he's been in town most of the day today doing some on-site studies, but kind of give us a rundown, council and the village, of where he's at, where we're going, what we're doing.
I thought that the best thing to do would be to just kind of go through each project and give you a status update on those. Interrupt me with questions as they come up, but We changed course a little bit at the early part of the summer, and I think most of it was due to comment and feedback that council was getting. We were directed to work on a project on Columbia and Pearl Street, and Mike McCann and I, who's the technician working on the project, we met with Ron and Kent earlier in the summer. We did a walkthrough after we had surveyed the area and had a preliminary layout. I think that we have about probably 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half left of actual work on those plans. And then that project will actually be ready to bid and construct then. So that is, a project you could bid in October. The only delay maybe is that there is an easement that's required to cross well, I should say at least one easement required to cross one of the properties. But I have the easement document here tonight, and I'll leave it for Kent. And Ken, if you can take a look at it, make sure that, the only question I have is that one little strip that looked like it might have been an alley or an abandoned alley, and we're not really sure what the status of that is. But this is a document that you can go to the landowner with and approach them about the easement, record it with the actual written description of the easement. I'll leave that here tonight. And I also have the bid documents. These are a draft. I have handwritten notes in here for the final copy of it, but I have, it's an hour's worth of work to edit those. And then, like I said, next week when we finish that job, once this thing is recorded, this project can bid. I assume that you have the funding lined up for it or something, because it was such a kind of an emergency, but that'll be available to start construction this fall. And I'll pass those around. If you're interested, you can take a look at them. But I do need to bring the big packet home with me tonight because I've got my notes in it. And then I also have the construction plans here for it. I walked through the project today, and for the most part, what I really wanted to do was just find each of those catch basins that we're going to tie in, and then we're also making some improvements at the very west end of the project where the new home is. They have a culvert under their driveway, and the driveway's built a little bit too high and causes some drainage problems right there at the end. And we know what we want to do there, and I just kind of needed to see it for myself to make sure that I can get it on paper right so that a contractor can bid it the way that we need them to. So I walked that. I've got notes on this one if you'd like to see those, but these are the plans for that project. And hopefully in about a month, 2 months, we'll have a contractor lined up for that and ready to go. The other project that we've really given our priority to was on Antwerp Drive, and talked to Ken quite a bit after the rains that you had this fall, or this summer, and the flooding that you had down there. And the original project was going to extend a storm sewer from the creek at the wastewater treatment plant all the way up to Chicago and Arthur Drive and intercept the drainage there and solve that little problem at the intersection of Arthur. We're going to use berms and dikes and ditching to intercept the drainage from the field, get it into the storm sewer and to the ditch. And we had that size for about a 10-year storm, which means a storm that has a 10% chance of happening every year.
Yeah, we get those about every other week.
Well, after what you had this summer, I had a real clear direction. More robust and more extensive, and it needed to be a foundation for future extensions. So we came up with about 3 or 4 different ideas. We had a meeting about a month ago and reviewed those, and what we've come up with is something that will kind of, everybody can have a copy of that. But basically what it does is it builds on that storm sewer that we had originally designed, which are these plans. This was almost ready to bid, but we really don't have to redo anything because we can use all of the work that we did with that. We had to do some additional surveying for some of the additional areas. We're going to move our outlet a little bit. It involves a few more properties. But what it does is it sets that end of town up for future extensions on up Chicago, on up Arthur, on up Spencerville, so that it can intercept that large area of northwest to southeast drainage that is kind of running through that intersection. It also is going to put an extension of the storm sewer up Antwerp Drive to the intersection, and it has a larger ditch on the southeast side of that field where all that, the drainage from the field is coming off there. We're going to try to control the 50-year storm. That's a very large event. So we're going to upsize the storm sewer itself. But we are definitely going to utilize some kind of above-ground storage in that same area that we talked about earlier. I don't think there's any possible way we can get that much water into a pipe at a 50-year interval. We've probably got 300 acres of drainage that we're going to be trying to control with that.
Yeah.
So we've just completed all of our inflow calculations. We've got all of the tributary areas mapped on that for your future extensions, so we know what our volume coming in is right now. And what we're doing is we're modeling it to see how it behaves in the pipe itself with different sizes. We're going to leave the slopes as they are now. We're going to model the the water depth and everything of the outlet, because that outlet's going to be submerged almost all the time. When you have a heavy rain, so that will control it. We're still going to have our flood routing point. That means the point where the water is actually going to come up out of the pipe whenever it's meets its limiting condition, come up to the ground and then go somewhere. That is still going to be that low area of those vacant lots on Antwerp Drive. That's going to just be the case with the hydraulics and the elevations of the system. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a flood routing overflow channel that will take that off of the ground. It's going to bypass it around the homes, through that same field and to the creek, so that when we get to the point where that pond that we're going to create fills up, it doesn't just keep filling up and then flood that whole area and those houses. We have to control that and get that water away from that area before it reaches that elevation.
How large is the retention pond that you have?
Well, I'm working on that right now. It's going to be 3 acres or under. I'm going to make it that because I understand that's what you're able to acquire. But what I need to do right now is I'm going to have a volume. When we're done with this modeling, we'll have a volume of water that I'm going to have to do something with. And I know that water is going to be above ground. So we'll look at the area available, and then, if it's 6 inches deep or 8 feet deep is going to be the variable. We'll probably maximize our space just so that we don't have a gigantic hole in the ground. But we'll calculate the depth based on that. So I'd look for it to be somewhere between 1.5 and 3 acres of ground. The status of that project is, like I said, we're working on the system modeling. We have the plans done. We have some other sheets set up for the overflow ditch and the new ditch that's going to be going down there. We haven't done any grading on the pond yet, just because I don't know the volume of it yet. Probably sometime soon, I'm going to want to schedule a soil boring in that area to find out, what we're going to deal with. If we have that loose sand or that high groundwater table, we'll probably try to keep the bottom of the pond above that. And if we don't run into it, we may have.
A good idea.
Yeah. I noticed too that I might just wait until the beans are cut. If that won't be for another month or so, we could probably wait that long to get that done, so we don't have any crop damage and have to pay for that. But anyway, that would be coming up. I'm going to need to probably walk that again with Ron and Kent. We did that pretty early in the spring. The storm sewer path itself is going to pretty much stay the same. We'll walk the flood routing overflow path just to make sure that there's nothing there that's not showing up on our aerial surveying, and then just to also catch anything that we haven't noticed before.
So let me intervene just for a moment. Am I correct? Am I understanding you correctly when I say there will be a retention pond and there will also be a series of dikes and swales?
Right.
And,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, the dikes and swales are kind of, they'll go, towards the southeast side of that field, and basically what they do is just intercept that drainage and then direct it into whatever system we've got there to contain it. We are going to run storm sewers up the Oak Park neighborhood also. We'll probably grade roadside ditches in that neighborhood and put inlets in. space to get those, and then we'll do the upgrades to the roadside culverts also, and we'll do the same thing on Antwerp Drive. We'll run roadside ditches north on Antwerp, bring that, that's pretty flat, but I think we can get it, directed into inlets that we place all the way up to the intersection. But the whole, the theme is maybe a bad word, but the goal of the project is to set that area up for future extensions, but at the same time intercept as much of that northwest to southeast drainage that we can. And there really isn't your outlets for all of those areas that you are experiencing flooding are the combined sewers right now, and that's a poor outlet. And then the problem is that you've got large areas that are draining to them right now. Even if it was a good outlet, it would overwhelm it, with even a modest storm event. So we're going to intercept before you get to those critical points, get it into a good outlet, and then get it down there to the creek. We know that we can't get everything that you want into that pipe, so we're going to back it up, put it onto the ground when those pipes overflow, and then just grade that pond out however we need to. And then make sure that we control it safely and prevent property damage with the overflow ditch. So that project, it roughly quadrupled the size of the original plan. So we'll be working into the winter on that with all the plans. We'll have profiles and cross sections of all of the ditching and the new storm sewers. And I believe that is one of the projects that's covered by your OPWC award. You have $500,000 of loan and grant to use on these projects. That one will be ready the soonest. We're giving our attention to that one just because of the urgency that you've been told by your residents, and the direction I've been given to make some kind of improvement in that area before next spring. So, the other projects we're starting next. I have a full-time technician working on that, the changes on that project. I've given him some feedback on how to move forward with that. He's got a good bit of work ahead of him. He recently finished the Pearl and Columbia project, and he's beginning now to work on the South Main and South Bryan Street storm sewer improvements. We're still early in that, but I do have the plans as they are now. And this is not a full-size set of plans for a project as large as that, but it will give you an idea of the locations and the corridor of I think what we're considering. I walked that this afternoon also, found all the inlets that we're going to tie in. Ron and I and Ken have talked about them quite a bit, but I needed to find them myself. I am going to probably make adjustments to the corridor as shown on there based on what I've seen today. Kent has some good ideas also about how to intercept that High Street storm sewer. So I'll probably continue working with them, refine that path a little bit, and then once we probably finish Antwerp, Mike will begin finishing this South Main project, which is as far as your separation projects that will improve your conditions at your wastewater treatment plant with the overflows. That's the biggest project. You'll see the biggest improvements with that. The others do have improvements, but this will be your main one. And that is one of the projects that that are part of your long-term control plan. And Ron, you mentioned with the status with the EPA, it is not your permit's not issued yet. It is approved, and there's two Andys at the regional district and the central district of the office of the EPA, and I've talked to them quite a bit. So it's approved, but they just haven't issued it for whatever reason still. So yeah. Permit itself. The plan's approved. They haven't issued the permit yet. It's sitting on his desk. So that's that project. I do have, like I said, that is a work in progress. I will definitely walk that project again with Ron and Kent to identify all of those. That's going to be a difficult project because it is very crowded in all of those streets. South Main has a nice wide open pavement area that we could probably avoid damage to private property. Bryan Street is going to be much more difficult. So we've got a lot of thinking about to do on that project. But the idea is to intercept that 30-inch storm sewer on High Street, get it out of your the tunnel that you have right now, because it is going down that tunnel like a rocket in your flow control device and then blowing up and you got overflows. So we think that getting that out of there is going to help out quite a bit.
Adam, will any of these preliminary prints that you're sending around, I'm too old to absorb all of that in a 5-second pass by.
Sure.
Is there any way that we can have a copy?
Yeah, I can give you copies by mail or email, however you'd like.
Wonderful.
Yeah, just, I'll get your address or
Okay,
something.
yeah. Or send them to Kent and I can get them from him.
Okay, I'll do
Yeah,
that.
that'd be great. Thank you, Adam.
But, so those are really what we're working on now. The Haver Drive project, that we were asked to wait a little bit on that. There's still some discussion, I understand, of maybe some of the, exactly what improvements are going to be done there with the ditch kind of at the back of that. And then the Ogen Street project, the water line project, we held off with that until that was completed, and we'll be able to get all those water line improvements in place as they are rather than as they were in the spring when we did our survey. So I've got other guys working on other projects right now, but they'll be done with those in September. So Mark Bargy will be working on Ogen Street full-time until it's completed this this fall. And that's a fairly straightforward project where we're going to put in a new sanitary sewer to the pump station, and that be a new tight sewer that will prevent those overflows. And then the Haver Drive project will be a little bit more complicated. We're going to probably make roadside drainage improvements on those using the existing sewer in place, and then convert that to a storm sewer and put in a new sanitary sewer with new laterals all the way to those buildings, so that you've got a new tight sanitary sewer. You won't have the overflows at the pump station. So, and we're going to do a water line replacement with that also.
The ground is stable enough out there to do such a thing? And that always been an issue out there? The ground moves so much at Haver Drive that...
Oh, you put in good pipe, it's not going anywhere.
Okay.
I mean, everything these guys do is got an aggregate base under and on top of, and
Okay.
it'll be fine.
Just know the horror stories.
Proper installation is the key.
That's true.
We'll have to do some soil borings at that area too, so we can advise the contractors what they're dealing with. And usually if you have, they'll have to de-water it very well. They'll have dewatering wells all over the place probably. And then we've got to create a stable, if we need to undercut something and then place a stable stone base under the bedding even, we just got to do that, so. Those are the projects. Chicago Avenue's, we're going to have a retention pond there. For that, there's an area of very localized flooding that was part of the drainage improvements that we were going to do also. That'll begin after Ogen Street this winter, and we'll move forward. All of these projects, we have the base mapping done. Last February or March, the aerial surveys were performed. So we have 30 scale mapping of everything for those areas. Even the backyards and the pools and the swing sets and everything are mapped for all of those project areas. And then we used our own ground crews to survey those this summer, and they picked up all of the underground features that an airplane can't see from 2,000 feet. We got all the utilities and property corners, and then we used that to perform I'll call it a boundary survey, or a right-of-way survey on all those locations. So we'll be able to determine what easements we need, hopefully minimize those, but we have those property lines located also. So I think that's what we're working on and are going to be working on in the coming weeks. If there's any questions, I can try to answer those. Yes, sir.
I know you can't give me anything in stone. Give me an idea. When will we turn the first shovel of dirt?
If you went out tomorrow and knocked on that door on Columbia, got that easement signed, if they're agreeable, say it's recorded in 2 weeks, we'll be done with our plans and we have the bid documents ready to advertise in 2 weeks. You could run the first ad in the paper.
Columbia and Pearl.
Columbia and Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
If you advertise that for a month, that'll put you, let's just say our first advertisements the first day in October. You open the bids near the last day in October. You'd probably take 2 weeks to award contract. So you would have a contract in mid-November, and they could work on that then.
That'd be great.
That's a terrible time to bid a project. I just did one that
We all money
is
down.
similar to, that's, if you wanted to wait, the week after Christmas is an awesome time to bid a project, or the first week of the year, because everybody comes back and they're had a nice break, and then they're starting to worry about what they're going to have their guys working on in the spring when everybody comes back to work. So they bid it pretty aggressively then, and you're not dealing with a torn-up project in the middle of the winter.
Can't run into that with Industrial Drive, we had one,
Yeah.
because everybody's busy.
You're not gonna get Columbia Street repaved if you go to bid. I mean, it's got to sit all winter stones. That's not.
Stone or slurry, one or two.
I'm not afraid of mess and inconvenience and angry residents, because I've been through it all, but it would make everybody's life easier to, do that in the spring of a summer project, but.
This one, if everything went perfectly well, what's the best case scenario to get?
We could have the plans ready, definitely ready to bid in the spring. Real estate acquisition may be the biggest issue, depending on how quickly you can get that resolved, because it'll be multiple acres of easement and purchase that will go with that. The good thing is, is it just one owner or a couple?
Based on how you got it laid out on there. And I don't want to mention names over the air, but
Sure.
just for the pond itself, you're dealing with 2 owners.
I would still try to bid that project next spring. I mean, there's no sense in rushing anything, and starting that this winter, because that's enough dirt work that they probably would not really even be able to do much of the project, or would not want to, once everything freezes. But
Well, I just want to have answers for my neighbors when they come knocking.
Maybe we could bid it first of the year,
Yeah,
catch them as they're trying to build their
right.
work schedule, and possibly get a bid cheaper, and tell them they don't have to start it till April,
Right.
June, or whenever.
Right. The best bids I've got, I always bid in the winter, and I will bid just resurfacing work that's pure asphalt in early, well, I'll say late winter. And then I've missed 2 bids in 20 years, meaning I wasn't within 10% of the actual price. It was twice, and it happened trying to bid fall projects. We got 1 bidder on both of them, so
You gotta have a man that owns a plant when you bid them.
Well, one of them was asphalt, and the other one was just a little dirt project, but you could always bid it in the fall and just give them, a construction period that's long enough to take them through to the summer. I just did
Right.
one of those.
I think the thing with Antwerp, don't want to say a whole lot yet, but we might need to pin down some acreage.
Yeah, and we're just not to that
Before
point
you
yet.
get too excited about anything.
Once we get the pond sized and, that developed to a point where it's done, we'll provide the easement exhibits and then the acquisition exhibits also. It'll have a meets and bounds labeling of what you're going to buy, and then it will just kind of have the exhibit drawing of the easements themselves. So we can, if you need to get appraisals or anything, we have people that we work with all the time. If you don't have somebody that you want to use, we can give you some recommendations too.
So this is part of the EPA?
That one is not.
This is not?
That project is not. That project is mainly for flood control, I should say for drainage improvement.
So they could, sorry, Nick, so they could come in and say, we don't like this?
The EPA,
No.
they'll never see that.
Okay.
That is your own project.
That's
You
our
have
own
no
project.
regulatory pursuits, you don't have a permit, you don't have anything that you need to do.
Take care of some CSOs, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of, I think Antwerp Drive made that long-term control plan submittal.
It did?
Pretty sure.
I would think there'd be CSOs affected.
Yeah.
No, not
I don't think it did.
I don't remember. I know.
I was thinking the Antwerp was.
It was in the OPWC application, but I don't think it's part of your long-term control plan. Now, the way that the changes that we've made are going to benefit that significantly with future expansions. We're going to take that all the way up Antwerp, and there's a few inlets there, and there's a couple inlets at Arthur Drive that will intercept. It won't have the impact like the South Main and Bryan Street project will, but it is some. But the main focus is urban flooding to improve that.
Which ties directly back to your flow metering, which, you
Yeah.
know, I know you don't like, but if we start doing these projects and we're reducing water in the system, and we can
Yeah,
show that
prove
through
it.
our metering efforts.
I told Roberta, I said, I don't want to say it because I know it's driving you guys crazy having to have that metering every month, but the data, for my use, the data will be helpful. And when the time comes and you finish this first round of projects, the first thing I'm going to do is pull up that data and I'm going to say, look, EPA, this is the trend, and this proves that the program that they're doing is working. And that way, you know, you're meeting your permit obligations. And it will also show you if you get to a point where you're getting close enough at the end of everything that we want to minimize the size or possibly eliminate, but we want to minimize the size of that final solution of the high rate treatment system. So the smaller we can make that and the better the data that we have, the better. Now, you know, if you want to take it offline and start it back up again, sure, we can probably live with that. But the more and the better the data, the
You're
more
gonna have
helpful.
startup costs to have Gene come disconnect and
Yeah.
come back and.
I don't know anything about your contract with them. I don't know whether you're getting a bargain or getting ripped off or what services are included with it, but just, it's helpful, you know, it will be helpful at some point, but.
Like, again, we talked about these projects as, you know, you're developing them and engineering them. Or down the road, if we don't have, again, that treatment, if we can take more and more water away from the system and get to that final phase, that's a huge expense.
Exactly, if all of these projects can get down to those, what, 4 CSOs or less a year,
We won't need that.
you won't need the treatment.
And I feel quite confident that we can do that.
Sounds like you're gonna knock a lot of water out with just all these projects that you're working on right now.
Yeah, that Antwerp Drive project, that's a monster, but it will make a big improvement, and it sets you up for futures.
And there's a couple things up north that I'm sure you folks have looked at and probably engineered, but things that we could do ourselves.
Right.
That would be a significant change in things.
But, you know, some of those are coming in phase 2.
Yeah, but there's such little projects.
Well, some of the little stuff we've already done. I mean, just like that weir thing, I mean, that's been done. But the major stuff for north is phase 2.
So I think we've got one project that's, you know, almost ready to start, one that is in development, and I think I have my hands around it, exactly what is going to be done. It's just a matter of performing all the details of the engineering. And then the third project, the South Main Sewer, I'm still developing the final details of it. I don't completely have that resolved. And then we have a couple more that we're going to be beginning in September that, you know, we'll start the plans in probably in about another month or 6 weeks or so. I'll be here with, you know, plans and stuff for those projects. So they're smaller, so they'll move along a little bit quicker than some.
But a lot of those small projects that you've outlined are going to take a considerable amount of water out of this system. And
Well, the Haver Drive project itself, that will eliminate one, you know, that pump station overflows. If I go out there and spit on the floor, the street, it's overflow. So that'll be gone. And that's a sanitary sewer overflow, which is a big deal. And that'll be gone with that project, so.
Just sealing up our pipes, premium joint pipe through there so it doesn't take all our groundwater is going to be a world of improvement. I thank you very much, Adam.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it, Adam.
Roberta Village, you know, everybody in this room thanks you very much for all your efforts. It's really appreciated.
My pleasure. I'm glad we're finally getting,
Well, you're working with a good person here in Kent, and you've got a good committee you're working with, and we appreciate it.
thank you. Mike, did you want me to send you some sample ordinances for that inflationary increase stuff? Did you want to
Yeah,
pursue
you can.
that? or-
When it's done, we'll take a look at it before the new year.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Roberta.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of people with the past administration who have served on the water committee. And there's been a lot of effort put into that, and now it's in Michael's lap, and we appreciate all your help.
Thank you. I really have enjoyed it. It's been challenging, but it's been good. So,
How many different communities you work with right now?
how many I work with right now? Well, I've probably got about 17 or 18.
Do you just describe it as a
Okay.
30-foot
In a few minutes, we'll continue.
corridor over the,
Okay, so you'll send him, see, that's what
this,
okay, because I didn't know, we still had to get the descriptions written.
you've done
Anything
that.
like 30 foot off whatever direction, south end of the property.
Not gonna be down.
Whoever brought this can, should they bring cops too?
You got a fresh water here?
I'm not drinking, cold.
Just kidding.
Yeah, it's okay.
You know the conversation?
That owner is the only thing that's.
Okay, we'll continue on. Thanks again. Administrator's report is in your packet. Kent, do you want to speak to that? The general pickup coming up?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing I want to get out, just so people know general pickup will be next week. It's only 1 week, it's not gonna run for a month on here. Otherwise, I guess you have any questions, let me know, as far as what else is in there.
I have a question for you, Ken. You've got a pretty large paragraph in there about our storm lines and stuff, and you touch bases on the covenants and standards established back there. Have you been through that park? We don't follow any of the covenants. I've spoke with several of the council members and other members. That's kind of, once you get past the front of it, it's kind of like driving through Cecil.
Well, the covenant's actually enforced by, was it the Mayor's Economic Development, which is basically the RLF. Revolving in fund.
I mean, why, as we say with our rules and laws on the books and the signs uptown, why have it if you're not going to enforce it?
I guess that part's up to you guys. The only thing that I think you need to be aware of is if once the road's in, if a party that we're not, the party that controls the land, you're gonna wanna make sure that they're requiring underground detention or some form of detention, because that storm line's not gonna hold its size just for the street. So I think we need to come up with some agreement on future additions. Now, whether it mirrors the existing covenant or not, I don't care.
I think it'd be quite simplistic if nobody was allowed to tap into our line.
Well, I just think maybe
takes all the
something needs to be
problems
written up.
And I agree 100%.
So no, otherwise, I don't.
The only thing, you're correct, the only thing that pipe is sized for is to drain that road, and I think something definitely needs to be established to eliminate anybody tying to that line.
But see, we're not gonna own the property, so that's where you're gonna have to.
Correct, we don't own the
Worked out with
property, but we own that pipe.
Well, yeah, we're not own the pipe, but you're gonna have to have something in writing, I'll put it that way.
That's what I'm saying, we need it. Can you do that?
Yeah.
I was just going to suggest that we let Kent and the solicitor handle that part of it and get something done. That's okay with council, we will head that direction.
Light and property committee?
Does he agree with it?
Well, it's something the solicitor and Kent got to do.
Yeah.
You can have all the committee if you want. They have to-
I'm not hearing anything from the rest of council.
I agree with you 100% on that.
So it's agreed that, you know, Troy and Kent can negotiate that part.
I got one question, Ken. They have staked out the end on 49, correct? They've got stakes out there now, I saw.
Should have, yeah.
Yeah, when are they gonna put a shovel to that?
They should be starting this week.
Yeah, didn't they say they're gonna be done by November 1st?
They've got to be done by the 1st.
Wow.
Now, with the weather report for tomorrow, I'm not so sure. I don't think anybody was in today, but they should be.
I'm waiting with bated breath.
And I've been, in my travels around, I was taking pictures of other cities' industrial signs or commercial complexes, or all the different names that they use for them. And somebody that doesn't know how to run their camera very good wiped the disc out. I don't want to mention any names.
I didn't touch it.
But I'll get more.
All right. Anything else, Kent?
No, not. Somebody's got some
All right. Bruce? Okay with that?
Yep,
All
I'm
right.
fine.
Let's turn the meeting over to Troy. We have some resolutions. I will speak to one of them. Troy we have a signed status park agreement. We just have to take it to the school. Other than that, we'll go on.
First thing I have is Resolution 2015-16, a second reading by caption only, a resolution of the Village of Hicksville, Ohio, directing the Defiance County Auditor to assess and enter the unpaid utility bills on the tax duplicate of the property described in Exhibit A and declaring an emergency. Kent said he needs that passed tonight.
Yeah,
so moved.
she wants some.
I move we suspend the rules.
Second.
Per Troy's request, Ron Beverly makes the motion to suspend the rules. Bruce Hart seconds. Roll call, please.
Beverly?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
McCrasky?
Yes.
Barth?
Yes. So Resolution 2015-16 by caption only, resolution of the Village of Hicksville, Ohio, directing the Defiance County Auditor to assess and enter the unpaid utility bills on the tax duplicate of the property described in Exhibit A and declaring an emergency.
We'll need a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Mike Barth makes the motion. Second, please.
Yep.
Nick McCrasky seconds. Roll call, please.
McCrasky?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Barth?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Beverly?
Yes.
I need to interrupt Diane for just a second. It's pretty important. I didn't forget the Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's fine.
Next is Resolution 2015-17, second reading by caption only, a resolution of the Village of Hicksville, Ohio, directing the Defiance County Auditor to assess and enter the delinquent cost of weed and grass mowing on the tax duplicate of the properties described in Exhibit A and declaring an emergency.
Can I ask, what's the emergency?
The time, we gotta get it to the auditor so they can get it on the tax duplicate.
We did the first reading last meeting. Mike's end of it didn't change, I don't believe. Oh, yeah, there was one that did, I'm sorry. Somebody did pay part of a bill.
I second Ron's recommendation to suspend the rules.
Okay, we have a motion to suspend the rules by Ron Beverly, Ron Jones, and we have a second by Mick McCrasky on Resolution 2015-17. Roll call, please.
Barth?
Yes.
McCrasky?
Yes.
Beverly?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
So third reading of Resolution 2015-17 by caption only, resolution of the Village of Hicksville, Ohio, directing the Defiance County Auditor to assess and enter the delinquent cost of weed and grass mowing on the tax duplicate of the properties described in Exhibit A and declaring an emergency.
We'll need a motion to that effect.
So move.
Ron Beverly makes a motion.
I'll second.
Bruce Hart seconds. Roll call, please.
Barth?
Yes.
Beverly?
Yes.
McCrasky?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Next would be Resolution 2015-20, second reading by caption only, a reading to accept the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and declaring an emergency. I assume you need that tonight as well, Diane?
Yes.
Okay. For the same type of reason that has to be sent on.
Time frame.
I'll second Ron's.
All right, to meet the time frame on Resolution 2015-20 to suspend the rules. Ron Jones makes a motion. Ron Beverly seconds. Roll call, please.
Hart?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Beverly?
Yes.
Barth?
Yes.
McCrasky?
Yes.
Third reading, Resolution 2015-20 by caption only, to accept the amounts in rates as determined by the Budget Commission and declaring an emergency.
Motion by Mr. Kraske. Second by Mike Barth. Roll call, please.
Hart.
Yes.
Barth.
Yes.
McCrasky.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Beverly.
And the only other thing on the list is the media com, and I haven't heard anything from anybody else, heard anything from anybody?
We still have, right, time.
Right.
Ken, has the mower been paid for this?
Mike's been doing most of the mowing this year,
Oh, yeah?
so we haven't paid like Joe Smith or whatever.
Okay.
The guys at Flail mowed a couple of those, but we didn't hire anybody this year.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, anything else, Ron?
I'm good.
Troy? Good? Okay, going on here, we do, I think, the police department has a recommendation.
Yeah, I may. First of all, I want to thank the council, mayor, and the park board for the camera system at the park. Made my job so simple. Last Friday night, or late afternoon, we had a truck and a trailer going down North Main Street, seen he couldn't get around, so he backed up and backed into the front of the HIX-TV building. When he pulled out, he caught the gate, so I called Eric, and he called Gary Val. They come down and blew up the plates on the trailer and the truck to about like that. I called the company, and they said, well, sounds to me like you got proof. And I've already told Kent, to get an estimate, and he says, well, just pay her. Paid for herself. Well, not paid. It makes it a lot simpler.
Yes.
Because we had a witness, she didn't get the plate number, she couldn't even tell the writing on the trailer, but it was carrying, the truck and trailer both had the 4-inch yellow
And that's,
corrugated tile, the great big rolls.
They put that camera in after when the gate got hit the first time.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
I believe.
But it's a very,
they gave the
very
village
nice
that camera
system.
Because it was an oversight on their part.
Very nice system, yeah. Yeah, and going ahead with the applications that I think we've received 12 of them now, and we've got the full-times narrowed down to, I think, 4 that we're still interviewing. We started the interviews today, and we had one that was requested to be put on part-time, and she's right here now, Monica Herman. She's got full-time experience with Williams County Sheriff's Department, and she currently works for Eden part-time. So if you don't mind, you stand up, and I would recommend her to be put on part-time status with the appropriate rate of pay. I have not heard anything negative about her. It don't matter whether I talk to police officers, residents, where she lives, county, in the village, and everything. All got good reviews about her.
Super.
Very knowledgeable, hard worker. So,
Okay. Well, on your recommendation to me, I would recommend the council that we hire her pending the normal things that you go through for drugs and alcohol and everything.
she'll have to go through a police and fire physical. Yeah, because you're currently on PRS, correct? Yeah,
Part-time people are on TRS.
right. So she'll
I
have to
would
go through the
support the
police and
mayor's
fire.
decision.
Yep, I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Ron Beverly supporting that decision on my recommendation, and Vic McCrasky seconds. Roll call, please.
Beverly?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Barth?
Yes.
McCrasky?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
And welcome.
One
Yeah.
question,
Money, where are you gonna put her? What's she gonna be doing?
Well, she currently works in Eden right now, but she puts in a lot of hours on the weekends, and as I take it, you don't really care for that much. And until we get somebody hired, I mean, she could help fill on first shift. Yeah, just, said she'd be willing to work when we need her, and that's worth a lot.
Welcome to Hicksville.
And plus, we also need a female in the department, because we haven't had one since Chief Sabo resigned.
Yeah.
There's times we actually need a female.
I think that's great.
That's, yeah.
One other thing while you're at the podium, everyone got the letter from Bob Slattery applauding the help that our department gave to him on the changing of a tire, I believe. So that's things volumes.
That's what we're here for.
That's right. And so thank you.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I believe Chief Kramer has a recommendation for
Yes, I'd like the mayor to recommend Kelly Noto be put on the fire department pending physical drug screen and background check.
Okay, and she was here, and she had to leave, yep, meeting.
Go work.
Right, her work. So, per Chief Kramer's recommendation, I would recommend Kelly Noto to be placed on the fire department.
She's all certified up and everything?
Yeah, go through the screen.
That's pending all that.
Will we be getting the physical and drug screen and background check and everything before you send her to training? Because we've done that before, and then they failed training, and then we're stuck with the bill.
Yeah, they get physical and all that on the department, and then later on they go through training.
Then, we'll make that part of the recommendation. That's how they're recorded in the minutes. Everybody fine with that?
What is it you're saying, Mayor?
Make, just as you stated, that the background check, her being, you get her ready to go to school, right?
Right,
Okay, then things have to happen first.
right.
Okay.
Will she be signing an agreement then to pay back those expenses? All right.
Okay. Motion to that effect?
I'll
make a motion. Ron Jones makes a motion for my recommendation.
Under those circumstances where there's an agreement signed that she'll pay back if she doesn't pass the fireman's qualifications, I would second that.
And Mick McCrasky seconds per the conversation. Roll call, please.
Hart,
Abstain.
Jones.
Yes.
Beverly.
Yes.
McCrasky.
Yes.
Barth.
Yes.
Okay. Going on, we have the clerk treasurer's report. Turn the meeting over to Diane.
You had in your packet a month-to-date and year-to-date cash report. And you also had a month-to-date, year-to-date income tax report where it shows we're up 17% for the month of August compared to the same time last year. I'd like to take this time to thank Cheryl Smith. She's continued to make the deposits in the income tax department and stuff in the absence of a tax administrator currently. So we're at least getting our money in the bank even if we're not getting the other parts of the job done. And I also, I think you have in your packet a letter from Jill Little about the Budget Commission, that they met on the 26th day of August, and they apportioned our 2016 local government fund monies. Our share of the fund is 6.9% and is estimated at $71,459. And they enclosed a model motion that they asked us to pass at the meeting. And I just went back and looked at some historical numbers here. In 2010, it was $128,000. 2011, it was $88,000. 2012, it was $67,000. In 2014, it was $67,000. So I guess we're going up to $71,000. So I guess what I need is a motion to approve accepting the alternate plan of the local government funds on the basis of need and the amount received in past years, and that we agree to the sum of $71,459.45. So I need a couple motions here. The motion is included in the packet.
Accept the Budget Commission's monies that they're
All right, Ron Jones makes the motion per Diane's recommendation to accept the Budget Commission's figure of $71,459.45. We'll need a second to that?
I'll second that,
And-
based on the fact that there's nothing else. I mean, that's it, no matter what.
Ron Beverly seconds.
Take it.
Roll call, please.
Jones?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Beverly?
Yes.
Barth?
Yes.
McCrasky?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next thing I have is I accepted resumes for an income tax administrator up until last Friday. And I have some, and I just want to know if Personnel Committee of Council want to sit on any interviewing, or whatever committee you choose to. Does anyone want to sit on one of the interviews?
Well, you had asked that you'd like to have some help in that way. So probably it's a natural for personnel.
Just let me know when.
When are you setting them up, Diane? Do you know?
As soon as possible. maybe even here at the end of the week if we could.
Okay, let me know.
Who is on that?
I mean, you know, it's a cross between personnel and finance, but that, I mean.
Are you gonna narrow it down before you have meetings?
I will let them see them all, but I will make a suggestion of 3.
Wonderful.
And see if you agree with that. And how's that sound? And
Good to
then
me.
maybe we
Okay.
can sit on 3 or 4 interviews. You can tell me who, if there's someone you wanna see that talk to, it's not maybe in someone else's top 3.
Okay.
That's all set for that. Let's see. Troy, do you have the annexation?
I have I don't have the plat that has not been returned to me yet, even though it's been recorded. The county auditor has everything they need, we just need to get it to the county commissioners. So I do have for you tonight the copy of the resolution from the commissioners, and where they approved it, plus our original annexation, but the plat with the drawing and the signatures and everything on it, we do not have that back yet.
Do I need all that to send to the Secretary of State's office? What do I need to send?
I did some research on it, and I didn't see anywhere where we had to send it to but I can call them and ask and see.
Maybe the code has changed.
Yeah, the 2 places I saw were the auditor and the Board of Elections were the 2
Yeah.
places, so I'll double check with this. I'll
Like the
just,
Census Bureau and the Secretary of State's office got it last time too.
okay, I'll just call them and check with them, but I have
Okay.
the other stuff
And that will
where it's been
count.
approved.
Is that all I need to send to the auditor and then,
I think the auditor's already taken care of with what's been filed with them.
okay.
That was my understanding, I talked to them.
And did you say the other was the county commissioners?
The Board of Election.
Oh, Board of Elections, okay.
Board of Election.
All right, thank you, that's all I have.
Okay, I missed our EMS chief. Lonnie, do you have anything to bring to the meeting? Sorry that we were going from police to fire, and I have my little marks, but I apologize. Going into the mayor's report, in your packet, you know you have the mayor's court results. Julie does a nice job of keeping track of that for the court, for the police chief, and it makes life easy. You also have a letter from Christ Covered asking for some help. Think about that in ways that maybe we can come back and help them. You also have a longtime VA officer retiring on October 30th, AMVETS Post 1991 in Defiance on Spruce Street. From 2 to 5, they're having an open house. Going on, you have a letter in your packet to all council members about something about slanted parking. You can read that. You know, we're going to have pros and cons of the new changes, so it's in your packet to read. A big thank you to all departments and employees of the village of Hicksville for the great job they do taking care of the residents of Hicksville. I mentioned Bob Slattery's letter to the police chief on how great they were in helping him. He just moved back into town. There is a meeting of the Defiance Area Foundation coming up September 29th. If anyone wishes to attend, let me know. And the last thing is, which we thanked, I think, you know, Roberta and Adam have done a great job for the village, and our committees have worked with them tirelessly. There are a lot of people served on those committees, and I applaud all of you for your efforts. I think good things will happen for Hicksville. It's taken a while. Ron is right, it'd be nice to see some dirt turn, and I'm sure this year we will. Is there anything else that we need to talk about? Sheila, welcome. I'm glad to see you attending. Anyone have anything before we close? And then we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that for you, Mayor.
All right, and Ron Beverly makes the motion. We'll need a second to adjourn. Ron Jones seconds. Roll call, please.
Jones?
Yes.
Beverly? McCrasky?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
And thank you all for coming.